Daniel here. Welcome to another Rottweiler tax video. This video, I'm going to tell you how you can call the IRS, get your problem solved faster, and avoid all the crazy long hold time. Imagine if you could call the IRS and not have to wait hours on the phone to speak to someone. I'm going to tell you how to do that today. Now, the first tip I'm going to give you is one you probably already heard of if you've ever worked in customer service or sales, which is to smile and dial. Remember, IRS agents field a lot of calls every day, and not all the callers are that pleasant. So there's a possibility when you call in, the person you're reaching out to could already be stressed out as it is. If you're that pleasant caller that has a smile on their face from the moment they start the call to the end, it's gonna mean a lot to the agent that has to field those calls all day. And while there's no guarantees, it's more than likely gonna result in a better outcome for you if you do. The IRS is often looked at in a very negative light. People look at them with a lot of fear. But the important thing to remember is that at the end of the day, the people who work at the IRS are just people like you and me. At a time like this, I think it's more important than ever to learn how to empathize with people, especially if it's someone you think you're going to be at odds with. In fact, the more you feel at odds with someone, the more you should try to empathize with them. Now, the next piece of advice I'm going to give you is going to save you hours worth of hold times. It's going to be when you should call the IRS. See, calling them in the middle of the day is usually not going to give you the best hold time. By then, the queue's been accumulating for hours and there's only so many agents available to take calls, especially right now. A lot of the IRS call centers were shut down for a few months during the coronavirus incident. So while I don't work for them, I can imagine they're probably still catching up on their backed up workload. The best time to call the IRS to get the minimum hold time is to call them right when they open. So if the office you're going to call opens at 8 a.m. your local time, you want to call the IRS exactly when they open. If you call them and you get a message that, hey, we're not open yet, just give it another shot. It might take a second for it to go through, but if you do it this way, you're going to get through a lot faster. Now, since you were one of the first people on the line, I'm also going to tell you how you can get through this call the fastest. So before you pick up the phone to call the IRS, the very last thing you're going to need to do is get a few pieces of information together. The agent you speak to is more than likely going to want to verify your identity when you call in. Personally, whenever I call the IRS about my own return, I always have a copy of my tax return at the ready. That way, whatever they want to ask me to verify my identity, I already have all the information in front of me. And since it's on the tax return, I know for a fact it's going to match what the IRS has on file. So just to quickly recap things. Number one, when you call into the IRS, smile and dial. Be that one person who calls in that day who's the pleasant caller that everyone wishes they could have gotten to deal with that day. Number two, if you want to have the bare minimum hold time when calling into the IRS, the best time to call them is right when they're opening. If you call them in the middle of the day, you're more than likely going to be waiting a lot longer to talk to an agent. And last but not least, make sure you have a copy of your last filed tax return ready when you call the IRS. That way, any information they ask you for, you already have in front of you, and you know it's the information that's going to match up with what was on your last tax return. That's about going to do it for this video. We'll see you in the next one.